How's it going, everyone? This is MindBlank and welcome back to my channel where I have rounded up 4 gaming mice. 3 Logitechs, the G303, G502, G602 and the Razer DeathAdder Elite. But before we get to the core of this comparison, consider subscribing and getting notified about more awesome content from this channel, and also check out my Twitter account linked in the description down below. Mice are a personal and subjective thing. This is normal and how it should be. You may have small hands or big hands, or you may use a claw grip or a palm grip. Everyone's unique, so mice become a difficult decision for most. I have chosen these 4 mice as they are some of the more popular options offered by reputable brands at the moment. This is not to say that there aren't dozens of other excellent gaming mice from other companies, but we are focusing on these 4 for now. If you enjoy these kind of mice comparisons, I can bring other showdowns in the future to you guys as well. I have extensively tested these mice throughout 2.5 months, so that means around 3 weeks per mouse. Let's start with relevant specs for each mouse first. The DeathAdder Elite, which I'm calling DAE from now on, is using the PMW3389 sensor. The G303 and 502 are using the PMW3366 sensor, while the 602 is using an AM010. For the weight, the heaviest of the bunch is the G602, coming in at 132 grams with 1 battery, followed by the 502 at 123 grams, then the DAE with 99 grams, and the lightest is the 303 with just 90 grams. The prices are pretty aligned, with the G502 and G602 being both $79.99 and the DeathAdder Elite and G303 $69.99. If you want to know the max DPI for these, well, for Logitechs we're talking about 12,000 DPI for the wired ones and 2,500 for the wireless G602. The DAE, however, is boasting the highest DPI here with a 16,000 maximum. While still on the topic of similarities, all wired mice cables are braided and come with some form of cable tie. The only thing mentioning is that the DAE's cable is less thick and more malleable. Let's talk sensors for a bit. PMW3366 is all the rage right now, with people swearing it's the best current sensor. The 3389 is a Razer exclusive variation of the above, which is the Logitech exclusive by the way, and all of these seem to stem from the same PMW3360. The AM010 is another sensor that's gotten good traction, but a little older than the others. Well, that's enough of that. You need to understand that when you have mice with great sensors, performance is not going to be the deciding factor, so let me explain the weight thing here. While the G303 is the lightest mouse, its reduced form factor and footprint make it seem heavier than the DAE. Side by side you'd feel the Razer was lighter and you'd be wrong. So weight doesn't tell us everything, there's also weight distribution at play. The shape is the most defining characteristic between these mice, so let's check each one in particular. The DAE is sticking to the well-loved original DeathAdder shape, but it does improve in some aspects. First of all, it's commendable that the Elite has the same price tag. Secondly, thank you for the DPI buttons, and thirdly, and this is the most important reason for me, the finally less prone to accidental clicking buttons. I've owned a DA in the past and loved it, but my major gripe was accidental clicking. The buttons were just too sensitive for me. These new Amron mechanical switches solved the issue and let me enjoy the mouse. Hopefully they'll also prove to be more resistant than what we had on older models. The build is high quality, with plastic being a uniform matte black with rubber grips on both sides. We've got 4 extra buttons on the DAE, including the 2 DPI buttons at the top, and of course they are all programmable. The wheel and the Razer logo are RGB illuminated and can be colored independently. We'll get to lighting comparisons a bit later in the video, so let's see the G502, the main competitor in this price segment to the DAE. If you're not used to this Logitech shape, you're going to take some time adjusting. I love it and think it feels great in hand. The only problem this design really has is that flick shots are very hard to pull off thanks to the extended wing on the left. If you don't intend on going pro with this mouse, however, this won't bother you a bit. This is the most complete, so to say, mouse out of the 4. You get the most features by buying this. It has lots of programmable buttons, 6 to be precise, including the side-mounted sniper button that when pressed switches to a lower or higher DPS, presumably to help you while you're zoomed in. I thought this was gimmicky at first, but after getting used to it, I actually kinda liked it. You also get the option of making the metal, by the way, mouse wheel free flow or move click by click with the press of the top button. The free flow mode is a godsend for productivity. I had this on other Logitech mice and it has also proven to be a pretty durable mechanism. It never failed in the, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of intensive use. If you find the mouse too light, don't know why though, you have the option of making it heavier with the included weights. The DPI switches are to the sides of the left click and their position didn't bother me, but on some grips they may be accidentally pressed during use. Of course, there's Rgb lighting with a light up G logo and you have the option of keeping the DPI indicators on at all times. You can't make them a different color from the logo though. It's a really premium build with nicely textured rubber side grips and a combination of 2 different plastic finishes on the body. It really is a standout looking mouse for the price tag. Moving on, we've got the Oddbird G303. Right away this feels less premium than the 502, but it does have its strengths, one of them being the same PWM sensor as its bigger brother. Plastic is cheaper looking but is still okay. However, the lighting design on this is just wonderful, projecting a pair of awesome looking wings on your preferred track mat. There's only 3 additional programmable buttons on it, but this is designed for FPS gaming, being the most friendly flickshot mouse out of all of these by a long shot. The diamond design, however, takes some getting used to, that's for sure, but if you can manage it, grip is just downright excellent. Be wary though, if you have large hands, this will not make a good pair with them. So yeah, there's adjusting time required for the shape, but I love the feel of it after a few days. There's no fancy gimmicks or extra features on it, and that's okay considering the intended FPS use. The mouse wheel is something I don't like, but it gets the job done in the end. And finally, the only mouse not wired, not RGB enabled, and not exactly meant for competitive FPS gaming, but it's the best out of all of these for RTS, MOBA or MMOs, simply because you have the 6 buttons on the side which you can program to anything, including something that'll help you for productivity tasks like editing. Sadly, the wireless implementation, although touted by Logitech to be cutting edge, is making it lose points in front of the other options here, and I did feel a difference for worse when using it in fast-paced FPS games. It does, however, have a great battery life with the option of running on 1 battery only as a way of making it less heavy. Its older sensor might underperform during fast flick shots, and this is the only mouse here that you can theoretically spin out, being limited to 2.5 meters per second tracking speed. Lastly, it's the Rgb lighting aspect, and I actually like Rgb on mice, shoot me for it. And while all 3 Rgb mice have their strengths, there are things setting them apart, meaning that if you just want powerful lights and wings, of course the 303 is king. If you want more subtle lighting, then the 502 is the better choice. If you want the best color reproduction, then hands down the Razer. Out of the box it has the best white display, the most believable yellow, actually I didn't know yellow could look so good on Rgb until this mouse, and it's the only mouse that can display correctly pink and shades of pink. Both Logitech and Razer have great software to go along with their mice. I feel Logitech has a better game lighting implementation with the mouse changing colors depending on events in several games such as BF1, Overwatch, GTA 5, Deus Ex, Mafia 3, etc. The Razer only does so in Overwatch, unless I got something wrong that is, and it does it by changing colors on the mouse depending on the hero you choose, so it kinda makes it up for me, but I'm an Overwatch junkie to be honest. Wrap up time, and I'm obviously not going to preach which mouse is better, since there is no better mouse here. It depends on the use, your hands, weight and shape preferences and other factors such as brand satisfaction. I am going to say, however, that if you have the option of trying different mice before you settle on one, definitely do it, as it's going to be worth it in the end. I'd love to make other mice comparison videos with great gaming mice like Zowies, Dream Machines, Rockets, etc. So if you feel the same way, leave your likes, comments, questions and suggestions down below, and thank you for supporting this channel by subscribing. See you next time everybody, bye bye.